In marketing, we're all about the numbers, right? Views, clicks, conversions. We live by them. But what if the math we trust is only telling us like half the story? Today, we're going to go way beyond the spreadsheets to decode the hidden psychology that really drives attention.
I mean, seriously, what if every single statistic you've ever chased was just a description of what people do, not the reason they do it? We've all been told that bigger numbers equal more success, but the truth is way more interesting, and honestly, a lot more powerful than that.
And this, right here, this is the big shift in thinking we're talking about. The old math is super simple. More views, more success. Boom. But psychomaths, it suggests something totally different. It argues that the real value isn't in the number of views, but in the emotional connection you manage to create. We're talking about a move from counting eyeballs to measuring heartbeats.
Okay, so if emotion is the real secret sauce, why are we all still so obsessed with raw numbers? Well, that brings us right into our first section, the lie of numbers. Here, we're going to dig into how our brains are actually wired to misread data, and why that can lead us so far off track.
And this is where a fascinating concept called logarithmic perception comes in. The big idea is that our brains don't think in a straight line. Think about it like this. Going from 100 followers to 1,000, that feels massive. It's a huge deal. But going from 100,000 to 101,000, it's the same 1,000-person jump, but it barely registers. It feels like nothing. You see, our brain cares about the ratio, the emotional contrast, not the raw number. And that's exactly why simply doubling your views doesn't mean you've doubled your impact.
And this is why momentum is so much more powerful than just size. It's not about how big you are right now, it's about the feeling that you're growing, that you're going somewhere. And get this, the neuroscience totally backs it up. Our brains don't release that big hit of dopamine when we get a reward, but in anticipation of one. This is the secret magic behind movie trailers, product launch countdowns, and cliffhangers. They aren't selling the thing itself, they're selling the amazing feeling of what's coming next.
All right, so we're hooked on anticipation. We get it. But how does that feeling actually translate into a physical action? Like a click. That brings us to the real chemistry of hype and the neurological loops that are powering our every single scroll.
And at the heart of all this is a really simple truth. Attention doesn't follow logic. It follows emotionally weighted shortcuts. We all like to think we're these super rational beings, but our brains are constantly looking for the quickest, easiest emotional path. The best marketing doesn't give you a puzzle to solve, it gives you a feeling to follow.
So if logic is out the window, what's the new rulebook? It's this formula right here. When you combine the perfect emotion with the perfect timing, you trigger recall and action, completely bypassing rational thought. This is the core equation for making your message stick.
And that formula, it's the engine that powers this little machine, the behavior loop. Just think about your favorite social media feed. The hook is that surprising image that makes you stop scrolling. The reward is the funny caption or that piece of gossip you just learned. And the loop? That's the infinite scroll itself, the promise that another, even better reward is just a swipe away. Every single successful platform is built on this.
And this loop isn't just some concept, it's a literal chemical cocktail in your brain. That initial hook gives you a hit of dopamine. That's the "what's this?" chemical of curiosity. The reward releases norepinephrine, locking in your focus. And the promise of the loop delivers a little bit of serotonin, that feeling of satisfaction that makes you want to do it all over again. It's a perfectly designed chemical engine for engagement.
Okay, so we've nailed the chemistry of a click. But what's the price of that emotion? This brings us to our next section, where we translate those feelings into financials. This is where the psychology of hype meets the hard numbers of behavioral economics. One of the most powerful biases that's just hardwired into our brains is loss aversion. And to put it simply, the pain of losing something is way, way stronger than the pleasure of gaining something of equal value. Our brains are built to avoid loss at all costs.
The emotional math here is just staggering. The psychological pain of a potential loss is about twice as powerful as the pleasure from an equivalent gain. This isn't a small difference, it's a massive lever. It's exactly why Only 3 Left or Sail-Ins Tonight are such powerful motivators. They aren't selling you a product, they're selling you an escape from the pain of missing out.
So how can you actually use this? Well, think about social proof. When someone posts a receipt of their first commission, it's not just bragging, it's powerful proof. For everyone watching, it triggers a kind of observational learning. We see their success, and our brains can't help but imagine achieving it ourselves. That "I could do that too" feeling is an incredibly potent motivator.
Now this brings us to a crucial way we need to reframe this entire landscape. We need to stop thinking of attention as just some abstract concept and start seeing it for what it really is, a tradable financial asset.
I mean, think about it like any other currency. It's scarce. You only have 24 hours in a day. It's transferable. You can choose to spend it on a cat video or a stock market analysis. It's volatile. A single notification can steal it in a second. And most importantly, it has yield. If you invest it wisely, it can generate incredible returns. Attention isn't just a metric, it's capital.
But how do you invest that attention capital? Because not all attention is created equal. This chart breaks it down perfectly. The vast majority of people might simply see your content. A smaller slice will actually like it. An even smaller group will come to trust you. But the most valuable segment, that little 5% at the top, is the core of your audience, the people who follow with genuine intent.
And this is exactly why moving from the outer ring to the center of that chart is so critical. Just look at the numbers. Basic visibility converts at less than 1%, but earning trust boosts that all the way to 8%. And for that core group that follows with intent, the conversion rate is over 20%. The goal isn't just to be seen by the many, it's to be trusted by the few.
Okay, let's bring this all together. We've covered the psychology, the neurology, and the economics. Now let's get to the final formula, the ultimate takeaway for turning all of this hype and attention into actual, ownable wealth.
Now, this first equation is a warning. If you generate massive attention, but you have no ownership, no equity, no control over the platform, it's not a business, it's exploitation. You're the product, and someone else is collecting the check.
But if you flip that equation, everything changes. When you combine the attention you've earned with direct ownership of the value you create, that's the formula for wealth. This is about turning your influence into equity, transforming likes and views into assets you actually control.
So that brings us to the final question you should be asking yourself. In this economy, every single second of focus is a transaction. So, is your attention being spent as a consumer, making someone else wealthy, or are you actively earning from it, turning it into your own capital? The choice and the equation is yours.
Okay, so if you're in marketing, especially music, right?
Yeah.
You're probably obsessed with the numbers. Views, streams, followers, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's the standard playbook, isn't it? It's how we measure success.
But what if? What if that math is just fundamentally wrong? Like, what if our brains, just aren't built to care about linear growth?
Well, welcome to the deep dive. That's exactly what we're tackling today. We want to kind of peel back this illusion that success is just counting clicks.
Right.
We're aiming to get past those numbers that just describe what already happened. We want to decode the actual equation behind influence.
Turning those attention signals into something real, something you can own, maybe even grow.
Exactly. Value you can actually compound.
So we're diving into this really interesting mix, aren't we? Behavioral economics, a bit of neuroscience, marketing, trying to figure out how attention stops being just like a rented metric on some platform.
Yeah, something you pay for.
And starts becoming actual wealth, measurable, compoundable wealth.
Okay, let's get right into it. The root of the issue, I think, is what we could call nonlinear perception. Psychomath's rule number 1, maybe.
Nonlinear perception, okay.
If you look at Daniel Kahneman's work, reference framing, it basically shows we act on relative value, not absolute math.
Right. So like going from 10,000 views to 20,000 feels huge. You doubled it.
Exactly. But the brain sees value logarithmically. So if you're already at, say, 100,000 views, adding another 10,000.
Feels like almost nothing because the starting point, the reference frame, is so high.
Precisely. Doubling the data doesn't double the belief or the emotional impact.
Okay, that's huge. So what do we focus on then, if not just raw numbers?
Momentum cues. That's the key. Signs that something is moving, growing fast. People are drawn to trajectories, not static points.
Okay, following the movement. And that connects to the brain chemistry, doesn't it? Hacking the midbrain.
You got it. The dopaminergic system. And here's the fascinating part, the big dopamine spike. It doesn't happen when you get the reward.
No.
When then? It happens at the prediction of the reward, the anticipation. We're wired to chase the possibility.
Wow. Okay. So, marketers, we're not actually selling the song or the product.
Not directly, no. You're selling the anticipation of it. Think about movie trailers, album teasers. They're built for that predictive dopamine hit.
So just announcing something static, like, here's my new song,
Yeah.
that's missing the point.
Completely missing the boat. You need an evolving story arc.
So practically speaking, your content needs to signal motion. Use words like coming soon, rising, building, make it feel like a journey.
Exactly. That taps right into the anticipation system.
Which probably explains why just laying out logical arguments doesn't always work for engagement.
Right. Attention tends to follow what we call the shortcut premium. Emotional-loaded cues bypass all that slow, critical thinking. The brain likes shortcuts, saves energy.
So the old formula, logic, outcome, that's out.
Pretty much. The real formula looks more like emotion times timing equals outcome.
Emotion times timing.
Okay. You hit them with the right feeling at just the right moment. That triggers recall, action, not careful reasoning.
Okay, let's talk about keeping people engaged then. The neurochemicals. You mentioned this emotional multiplier loop.
Yeah, it's fundamental to how social platforms work. It's basically a 3-stage process.
Stage 1.
Yeah.
The hook. Stop the scroll.
Right. Stage 2, the reward. Something novel, interesting, satisfying.
And stage 3. The loop. The promise of more to come. Keeps you stuck.
Keeps you stuck is right. And chemically, the hook triggers dopamine. That's the seeking, the curiosity.
Okay.
The reward brings in norepinephrine. That sharpens focus, makes the memory stick. And the loop, especially feeling part of something, gives you serotonin. That's contentment, satisfaction. It reinforces the whole cycle.
And that's psycho-compounding. These short, reinforced bursts of attention adding up.
Exactly. They compound. You don't need infinite reach necessarily. You need infinite loops. You teach the brain and the algorithms that your thing never really ends.
Which leads to a big question. If big data is just looking backward, like archaeology, how do we predict what will work?
Shift to thinking about behavioral probability. And a big part of that is something called the frequency illusion.
Oh, I know this one. The new shoes effect, right?
Yeah.
You buy some specific sneakers.
And suddenly you see them everywhere.
Yeah. They weren't suddenly more popular. Your brain just started noticing them.
Exactly. Repeated exposure makes something relevant to you. The brand, the song, whatever. It becomes unavoidable because your brain flags it as important.
And this doesn't scale linearly either, does it? Like showing the same message 3 ways.
Right. Maybe a clip, then some text, then an audio snippet. You don't just triple the reach. That variety, that repetition, it effectively cubes the retention. You're embedding the memory in different ways.
Okay, but anticipation can backfire, right? The dopamine gap.
Oh, definitely. Retention hinges on the dopamine prediction error. That's the gap between what people expect and what you actually deliver.
If the delivery falls flat.
The whole system crashes, they lose interest fast.
And that window is super narrow, the 15-second rule.
Yeah, roughly. Attention seems to peak and then collapse in these waves, maybe 12 to 17 seconds long. Our brains just habituate, we get used to the pattern, tune out.
So you have to break the pattern.
You have to insert pattern interrupts, deliberate shifts, change the camera angle, switch the music, ask a direct question, anything to jolt the system and restart that 15-second clock.
Okay, practical tip. If you're making a video, mark your timeline every 15 seconds. Make sure something changes visually, auditorily, whatever. Keep re-engaging the brain.
Precisely. It forces them to pay attention again.
Beyond just the dopamine spikes, what about connection? Trust. Why do people actually follow?
That brings us to oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It gets released when we feel seen, understood, mirrored. Psychologists call it narrative transportation.
Like getting lost in a story that feels like yours.
Exactly. And language matters here, using we and us. We've been waiting for this. Our community is ready instead of just I or me.
That builds connection, makes people feel included.
Yes. It triggers that communal oxytocin. You're creating in-group, and that builds trust much faster, makes people more likely to act together.
And memory. How does music or content actually stick?
Well, melody is basically memory with rhythm attached. The formula seems to be phonetic resonance times emotional tag equals long-term memory.
Catchy sounds linked to feelings.
Yep. And rhythm helps a lot.
Yeah.
Cadence, rhythmic language in your captions or lyrics. It can stick 3 times longer than just plain flat text.
Okay, wow. Let's bridge this neuroscience to the market. Behavioral economics. You said value is an illusion?
In a way, yeah. People don't pay for the thing itself. They pay for what it means to them. Perceived value.
So how do we shape that perception?
Framing, anchoring, and context. Key tools. Say you're selling limited edition vinyl. Don't just talk about the cost of pressing it.
Frame the experience.
Exactly. Anchor it emotionally. Maybe frame the link with something like, this vinyl soundtrack, the best moment of my summer. You anchor the feeling, the memory, not the price tag.
Setting a high emotional value before they even think about cost makes the price seem less important, or at least justified.
Right. And then there's the social element. We're copycats, fundamentally. When we're unsure, we look at what others are doing, especially if they seem rewarded for it.
Social proof.
The ultimate feedback loop. When success is visible, people buying, sharing, raving about it, it creates this positive echo. Seeing others benefit is incredibly motivating.
So transparency helps. Showing the growth, the enthusiasm.
Hugely. Observational motivation. Belief spreads when success is seen.
Okay, then we get to the big emotional triggers. Scarcity and loss aversion.
Massive levers. People chase rarity. Scarcity implies demand, makes things feel exclusive. It triggers reactance. We hate feeling like our choices are limited.
And we hate losing things more than we like gaining things.
Far more. Brain scans show it. Loss aversion hits the amygdala, the fear center, much faster and harder than potential gains hit the reward center.
Which means the language we use is critical.
Absolutely. Don't miss out on this exclusive drop is way more powerful than get this cool new drop. Fear of missing out is a stronger motivator.
How do we turn fans from just consuming to partnering, getting involved?
Ah, the endowment effect. This is fascinating. The second you feel ownership over something, even partial ownership, its value basically doubles in your mind.
So giving fans a stake, like shared profits, commissions.
Exactly. That sense of ownership completely rewires behavior. They shift from passive fans to active partners. They care more because it's partly theirs.
But getting them to act even as partners needs to be easy.
Frictionless design is crucial. We have a strong default bias. We stick with the easy, familiar path. Making someone click 5 times to buy something, you'll lose most of them.
Every extra click is a killer, like 20% drop-off per click sometimes.
Something like that. It's brutal. So simplify everything. One clear focus, one obvious button, one direct payoff. Make engagement the easiest option, the new default.
Okay, pulling back to the big picture, what's the state of play in this attention market?
Well, attention itself is now basically a tradable asset. It has scarcity, it can generate yield, you can transfer it. Think of it as influence capital.
So instead of platforms just monetizing our attention.
The new model is about making that attention your asset, your account balance.
And the goal isn't just having it, but growing it.
Yeah.
Compounding hype.
Right. Compound hype is when the community itself starts multiplying the emotion. That's where you get exponential growth. And the key is hype velocity.
How fast the excitement spreads.
Exactly. Coordinated actions like everyone streaming or sharing at the same time during a drop create this massive signal. Algorithms see that synchronized activity as a cultural moment.
And they amplify it automatically because they want to ride the trend.
Precisely. You leverage the platform's own logic.
So what are these algorithms actually like? Is it watch time? Consistency?
Those matter, but what they seem to favor most is emotion density. High emotional variance, but within a rhythm people can follow.
Not just flatline boring, but not pure chaos either.
Right. There's a sweet spot. Balanced chaos, maybe. Predictable surprise. We think it's around an emotional variance score of 0.6 to 0.8. That keeps the dopamine flowing without overwhelming people.
So success isn't just getting seen, it's moving people up. What did you call it? The pyramid of perception.
Yeah. You start at seeing maybe 0.5% conversion there, then they move to liked, maybe 2%, then trusted, perhaps 8%. And the goal is followed with intent. That's where you see 20% conversion or even higher.
And what drives people up that pyramid?
Ultimately, identity economics. People connect with and buy into stories that feel like reflections of themselves or who they want to be.
Music is identity in sound waves.
Perfectly put. Your content needs to mirror the listener's desired identity. It activates their mirror neurons. You have to ask, who did they become when they press play?
Does this make them feel like the person they aspire to be?
That's the core question.
Okay, let's try and wrap all this up. The ownership equation, connecting the dots.
It goes like this. Emotion plus perception equals value. What they feel, how they see it, creates its worth.
Okay, then value plus ownership equals wealth. When they feel they have a stake, value turns into something tangible, something that grows.
Right. And finally, wealth plus purpose equals legacy. When that value and ownership connect to something bigger, that's how you build something lasting.
So the real takeaway, it wasn't ever just about cracking the algorithm's code.
Not really. It was always about ownership equals control, multiplied by understanding. Control the feeling you create, understand the flow of value, and you own the outcome. Platform changes become less relevant.
Because the underlying human stuff doesn't change.
Exactly. Technology shifts, human nature, pretty stable. That need for a hook, a reward, a sense of belonging and ownership, that's timeless. That's the law of future proof.
So final thought for everyone listening.
In this era we're in, hype isn't just random noise. It's actually a form of negotiation. Every share, every single second of attention given, it's currency being exchanged.
Yeah. So the only real question left is, are you spending that currency or are you earning it?